Hello and welcome to Off the Roll. I'm your host, Troy Hirschman. Well, we've taken a break over the holidays from the podcast, and so we're back in 2023. I'm going to call this season 2 of Off the Roll. It's been about a year and a half. We've been laying out season 1, so we're going to start season 2, and hopefully this will be pretty exciting new stuff that we have in 2023. And I'm looking forward to bringing some different people on that may not have a connection to Ball State athletic training, but have a great story to tell. And really, that's what this is all about, is people telling their stories and sharing with us so we can all learn about athletic training along the way, particularly some historical stuff. So I'm looking forward to a great season 2. And we're kicking it off today with Mike Miller. Mike was a 1995 graduate of the Ball State Athletic Training Program, currently is the Associate Athletic Director at the University of Detroit Mercy, and started there as the Director of Sports Medicine, Head Athletic Trainer in August of 2006. He is definitely more involved in the administrative side these days, but still keeps his hand in the sports medicine department, helping out with different things where they need help at, basically. Mike is also a Cardinal Sports Medicine Society Ring of Honor inductee, which was done in 2015. I know he's very proud of that honor and has some exceptional memories of that night in St. Louis. So he's got a great story to tell. So we're gonna go off the roll with Mike Miller. Welcome to Off the Roll. Today we have Michael Miller. He's the Associate Athletic Director at the University of Detroit Mercy, also in charge of sports medicine, athletic training. Mike has a 1995 grad of Ball State University. So Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, well, considering what we just talked about,
Right.
it is great to be here.
You ever want to feel better, give me a call.
Well, anyway, I'm going to start this off kind of like I have all the other podcasts, and that is what's your story on how you got started in athletic training?
Well, ironically, I stumbled upon athletic training as a high school student. We had a physical education teacher.
So where did you go to high school at? Where was your
I'm sorry. I went to Lakeland High School in LaGrange, Indiana, and that's about 10 miles from Michigan and 40 miles from Ohio. So I put it that way. It's a pretty big Amish population community, LaGrange County and LaGrange Town.
That's right. We went through there one time, and I saw the hitching post at the Pizza Hut.
Yep, hitching post. Actually, that's a new Pizza Hut out there. The other one's a little bit down the road, and I hear the service is still not good. No, a hitching post. The crazy thing is I grew up a few blocks from the downtown, and my mother was the first female mayor of LaGrange County or whatever the hell it was. And I was really young at the time to really understand that. But getting back to my youth, growing up in LaGrange, small town, I think there was 170 kids in my class, and there was our PE teacher offered like some sports medicine classes, and we would tape and we would learn those aspects, I believe along the lines of like the Kramer book that we had, and whatever that course was. I know people talk about it, you guys that did that at Ball State.
Yeah.
But we would do all that and learn, and I got really interested in it because as I grew up, my father graduated from Purdue as an engineer, a civil engineer. And he went to Ball State and got his MBA. And he worked a few years in the engineering business, and then he went into the business sector with his father and brothers, and really made that business what it is today as a economic person. So from there, I gained interest in athletic training through this one teacher and learning about that, and then going to these games and seeing those people on the sidelines. I thought it was so cool. Wanted to be a part of it. I would go down at the Purdue games. We had season tickets to Purdue games. We tailgated, did all that stuff. So that's where my interest in athletics, that whole camaraderie and seeing those kids down on the field playing catch that, we could do that. I could just run over and give high fives to the guys when they go into the locker rooms at half.
Yeah.
But that was kind of my niche, and that was kind of what I saw. And then asking the counseling center back then, you don't have technology, who has what? Ball State was brought up, and then kind of Purdue. What was weird is Ball State was really talked about, and I read the program. It was an internship-based program. I looked at Purdue. My dad wanted me to go to Purdue. I
Right.
wanted to go to Ball State. I read about the program, so that's where I went, and that's what I wanted to do. My dad wanted me to do business. I think I do a good job doing business in my own spare time as, entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
that led me to Ball State. I wasn't a great student. My first year, trying to figure out college life, and small town of Lakeland High School education, going to education is big difference. So
Yeah.
I struggled. I'm not book smart. I can read things and interpret. I learn by doing, interacting. I'm very passionate about what I do. So I'm very vibrant and excited sometimes. But that led me there. My first semester, I don't think I did as well, like a 2.5 or something like that. And then second semester, I tried to bump it up, and basically my requirements for that first semester was just short. I think you had 2.75. I had a 2.73.
Yeah.
And I busted my ass. I worked hard. I was in, listening, learning, and I was actually given the opportunity to not be in the program, but actually be assigned to sport with a senior student athletic trainer. And I worked with men's volleyball at that time with him, and that really
So who was that?
Steve Luby Husen. Yeah. And honest to God, he was one of the guys I look up to as a mentor
Yeah.
too. I was like 2 or 3 years younger than him, and he taught me a lot. And that's what it's about, that mentorship.
Right.
And honestly, I've acknowledged that in conversations, but this is probably public to him, saying that, he made a, impact in me. So
Yeah.
that actually fueled my fire, got me going, got in the program the next semester. The rest is history. I did a
So
lot
who
of
are
out of
you
season sports.
who are you coming in with in that
Oh,
class?
so Chris Lane, I'm gonna draw blanks. Dominic Greenfield, Scott Kinner. There's more, because we were really tight. We were really
Yeah.
tight that first semester. We were doing a lot of things, and then we're still tight going into the second semester, and then female got in the way for me, and I didn't do as much with the group, but we were great. We were tight. We got some good people that came out of there. I'm missing people, and I feel bad for it, and I know it's probably right there, but we had a good class coming out.
Because you started it, so you graduated from high school what in
91.
91,
Yep.
and you came. So you
91,
were there.
92.
Yeah.
I actually started my observation hours in the clinic, what's it called? The health center
The
over there.
student health center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
student health
Yeah.
center in the basement. And then
Yeah.
we moved into I was in Woody Shales and La Follette complex, which is no longer there.
Yeah.
So I watched the construction of the arena come up, and it was great. I mean, my first year as a freshman, I went to the national championship volleyball game there, and this was just as a student. And but I made that transition to the
Yeah.
center.
You were coming in, and I was going out.
Yeah,
Basically.
exactly. I remember you
Yeah.
running around.
Yeah. 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 I was trying to find the short places that I could go into. Yeah, that's what I was
But
doing.
along my college, I worked several different sports, football, and of course men's track field, out of season football, men's volleyball. Man, I did the rotation in the clinic for the high school at Muncie Central and Central Indiana Sports Medicine on the orthopedic and sports medicine side. And Rex actually called me in. Rex Sharp called me in one day. It was my junior year, and I'm like, yeah, I can come in and talk. And I'm like, what is this about? And anytime you walk into the training room in the office and you're asked to go to the doctor's office for a conversation, it's probably not good or something's up or what. So you
Yeah.
walk
Yeah.
in like, what's going on? And So Rex and I talked, and he's like, Mike, I really think you'd be a great fit at New England with the Patriots. And Ron O'Neal, I would like to call if you want to go. And I'm like, hell yes, I would love that. So we made the process. Back there it was mail. You wait, mail and wait. So I think for the end of the semester, I didn't hear back from Ron until June. Like we had to report like in July.
Yeah.
And I kept calling him, and and then he's like, that's just how he worked. It was just kind of like, yeah, it worked out, whatever. And then I'm actually working a summer job, getting a call in a factory that I'm at. Like they knew about it. It was my uncle's factory, but they knew the call could be coming through. And when it did, it was pretty cool. So went out there, did that rotation with them.
So what did you do when you got that call? What did you do the rest of the day? Did you go back to work?
Rest of the day? I went back to work, man.
You can say, I'm tapping out. I'm going to the NFL.
The one thing that I learned growing up is, and the history of my father at Ball State, but we were raised as if you work and you earn, you make your own path. And that's what I learned and was instilled. And by doing that, that was just that piece that pushes forward and get off your butt, get back to work, get going. You're hurt a little bit. That's the problem. Before I got to this job, I got the, suck it up, you're fine, get going. Now I have to learn to balance. But now I did that rotation and spent about 8 weeks in New England, and flying out, going to an airport and looking for two guys because you don't have cell phones, you don't have anything.
Right.
And my flight was delayed. I was late 2 hours, and I'm walking off just nervous, like these guys are going to leave me. And I luckily found them, and they're like, hey, are you Mike Miller? I'm like, yeah, I'm Mike Miller. He's like, did you see? I couldn't remember who the boxer was at the time. It was like a world champ at the time. He's like, that guy was on your flight. Did you see? I'm like, well, hello, I might have. So I had a star on my flight, and I was so nervous, and they didn't even care that I was there because there was a professional boxer. But that's how it started. And it was a grind. It was fun. There were some non-fun times, but that grind was great.
Obviously, Ron O'Neal was the head athletic trainer at the time, but who else was on that staff?
Kirk Brummels.
Okay.
It was Ron O'Neal, Kirk Brummels, and then there was I'm drawing blanks on everybody's names. I'm losing names as I speak, but there was a 6-month intern, and then there were 6 of us as seasonal interns, and we all left to go back to school. Ron only hired juniors to seniors. So their senior year, they had an opportunity to come back as a 6-month person. Yeah. I was a great candidate for that position, and I was told so. And when I made the call, I was able to go down and work the Colts game when they were in town, and Patriots won the game. And one of the seasonal interns was actually started working for them because his schooling was different, or whatever his schooling was. So that kid, went right into that 6-month period, and then I went on to grad school. So yeah.
Any unique memories that you had during your time with the Patriots?
A lot of, well, the biggest unique thing that happened, one, Bill Parcells was the coach. And I'll tell you, there's intimidation on things, but that man was intimidating. Like,
I bet he was.
Just like his voice to whatever, and it's just like it shakes you to the bones, no matter what he says. So there's 2 things. One, our number 1 draft pick that year, I won't say his name, dehydrated. So we were at Bryant College, and that was when they were a D3 school. They had 2 fields in the back that were grass fields, and there was a putting green on the side. Bill Parcells would chip and putt before everybody got out there. And we were coming in, and our draft pick that year was showering up and comes out of the shower, cramps up, full body cramps, like this, butt naked. Our 6-month intern, we're all coming up, and our 6-month intern is in there. So, the showers, and you have that like little drying off area. Yeah. First thing I see is big 6'5" dude and this short guy. The 6-month intern was a stocky little short guy. He's probably about 5'7". Yeah. And he wrestled. I remember that. And it was like when I turned the corner and looked at him, I'm seeing this big dude and this short dude on the floor. And you have to make a quick decision on, are they fighting or?
What's going on?
But it was odd because he was butt naked, and then our intern, we had our like
Yeah.
coaching shorts and our white shirts, and he was just soaking wet. And that was the funniest thing. The other one was Bill Parcells had to have an ice bucket in his locker room after every practice. So you rotated through, and you were the last guy. If you were the guy on the inside, you prepped for the next practice and everything else. You took Bill Parcells' ice bucket down there. I walked down there and I thought I was a little bit late because I was behind, and they were coming in. So I'm like, I got to get that in there. And I got in there. I'm like, okay, he's not here. I'm good. I walk out the door and I'm almost down the hallway and I hear, hey, and I'm like, walk faster around the corner, go upstairs. I'm like, okay. And then the 6-month intern comes, he's like, oh, hey, Coach Parcells wanted to let you know that we don't need to put the ice bucket in there anymore. So like, you don't need it. But I'm like, I'm out of here, man. So that was like the one memory. But just honestly, the learning experience you had, the different philosophies to learn from, that's what I take away from every experience I get. Meeting people, learning people, becoming better people, and working together as great people is important to me. That goes along with staffing, that goes along with everything. So along the way, it's a learning experience about life, really. So I took what Ron O'Neal did because it wasn't what we were doing, what I was learning. It was the different way of how they did rehab. And, so I took those instances. There were a couple of unique injuries that we had with high ankle sprains, how to manage those. So I learned a lot about that management. And, but the guys you're with, you might not be in touch with them after, but when you see them, you had a great bond, and you worked like 2 months together, 14 to 16-hour days.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of other funny stories, but those come up as things pop up. So, but yeah, I spent that there. I started grad school and I went to Eastern Michigan because that was the route I wanted to be.
Wait. One thing though.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So we all know that Ron is legendary for his inventions.
Yes. Oh gosh, I didn't. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, because
so glad you said
what was a few things that you were looking at going, how's that gonna work?
So that goes along the way of, I'm not kidding you. I would have him come in and do his stuff with my staff so they can learn it, just because of his ideas and how to tape things and do things.
Yeah.
And I'm a better person because you think differently based on that. His mentality. So in the professional level, the mentality is these guys are making money to do this. My job is to keep them safe within a realm. But the mentality of the coaches are hamstring injuries or these overuse injuries are preventable, and you should have taken care of your body. And that's going to make the difference between you being a roster spot or being on the free market. So Ron O'Neal's mentality was, these kids want to do it. I got to give them every opportunity. So I took that with me. And this is a great saying that I have. And I took that, like, I'm giving you every opportunity. I'm going to be here for you. And we're going to make this better. We're going to do this and make it successful. Because at the end of the day, if you're taking a kid through a successful program and plan, and it's game day, and you have a few of those, and it's successful, and you win, or the person has a great game and everything else, those are the memories you bring back. But from Ron O'Neal, actually looking at the body parts, doing tape jobs that were crazy. I mean, we're talking butt-ass naked guy standing up, and you're taping them from the low back pretty much, all the way to the knees, all the way through to the Achilles, depending on what he was trying to accomplish. So, when you're using they call it so many different things.
I know he used a lot of elasticon.
Yeah, he used elasticon on it, and these guys,
and that really was an Otho thing too. Yeah. I mean, he learned that from Otho a lot too.
That's where I've learned my niche with these older guys that interesting. I mean, like, learn from them, and I've done some amazing things. I've got lacrosse kids. I've got parents that will call me and say, "Hey, this guy gave me your number. My kid broke his hand and he needs a splint for his lacrosse glove. Bring him in. Let's look at it, and we'll figure it out." And what I've got to, you learn those things from these guys. I mean, in one of my most successful moments And greatest feelings was at Notre Dame. Sorry, skipping ahead.
No, you're fine.
I had a young lady on January. This is how I remember. My memory's not good, and I have to have things that jar my memory, but this one sticks with me forever. So one of our starting forwards, we played a game against Virginia Tech at home, and we were playing UConn on the 22nd.
Okay.
This girl gets smacked on the hand. I can feel it, like crepitus in there. I'm like, I don't know about this. It's the fourth metacarpal. I'm like, all right, let's finish the game. Don't raise any concerns because we got this big game in 2 days. I run in. The doc was there. We did the floor scan on it. We got it. I'm like, she's got a crack. And biggest game's coming up. So it's like, holy cow, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Long story short, devised a little splint, put a glove on, a wide receiver glove at the time. They were ugly. You tape the two fingers together. The first time ever, we had a sellout plus at the Joyce Center for this game. UConn was number one. We were probably around number two. And that was the year we won the national championship. But we went and kicked the heck out of them, like by like 20 some points. And like the crowd was so electric. There was like standing room only almost. And it was such a blur because you were in your zone of, this is probably going to be one of the greatest accomplishments of this time, that we won the biggest game at that time in history for us. And this girl went through all this stuff and she wanted it too. And it happened. So and we moved on and we ended up winning the national championship that year.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's some defining moments.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting to note because, I mean, in this day and age, if especially what I'm doing now, if a doctor looks at something and says you're done, you're done. Whereas at the university college level or the professional level, you work together with your team physicians to come up with solutions, like you said, so that these kids, if they want to play and they can play safely, that you can do that. And what you even in that short amount of time, you learned a ton of stuff that you can help student athletes do those types of things. And you learned it from somebody a very sage, wise, experienced athletic trainer that had to do those things out of necessity. And I'm not sure anymore that is happening because of the type of clinical instructor that's out there. There's a few of them out there, but it's going to be interesting to see what this next generation comes out with.
It's concerning. I'm suffering from it right now. I luckily was able to hire. I lost a staff member, and a year ago in January or so, I was able to hire that position, and we were able to get a Ball State kid or a worker from Ball State. And, I was lucky to get that. I mean, I went about 3 months because no resumes. You might get a few here or there. Maybe one's okay, but then you hear something. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things. What's the feel? I've learned more to listen to my gut and any concerns, and that's given me more than anything. Case in point, what we discussed before you think I got ahead of that, and you have to in our profession. But I see kids coming out. What I'm seeing a little bit now is there's a attitude a little bit about they think they can do it better, or how you do it is not the best way because you're old or whatever. And now we're those people that sometimes those people will come to you. I always open up, like, you want to learn something, you want to hear something, you want to see how I do it. I'm doing splints for a lacrosse kid. I would hope my lacrosse athletic trainer is going to be there. And she does, because I want her to do this. I want these kids to walk in and say, hey, so-and-so, can you make me that splint? I want you to have that confidence to do it. And I want to give you that, because at the end of the day, you make me look as good.
You're right.
I'm only as good as the people that surround me at the end of the day. And you guys need to be tight. And I learned that from Ball State because it was so fun environment. And, and I have that right now with our staff. It's, when we're going and everything else and people burn out, I learn to watch and try to step in, and things change and you have to help out here. But it is troubling to see what direction we're going, because we're seeing a shift from athletic trainers working in athletics and, doing the clinical internship. Those are great things, and they're paying great. But now the athletic trainer in the college setting, and sometimes high schools, as you saw when the pandemic hit in Northwest Indiana, they laid off all their athletic trainers. And then they weren't going to have, I don't know, they worked it out, but I'm glad they did. And it's scary. I mean, we saw that incident that happened with the Buffalo player.
Yeah.
There are schools that don't have athletic trainers. Do you see what can happen in the blink of an eye? And if you don't have that defib there and somebody doing CPR, the outcome that we're going to see, we're not going to see that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where are we going and what are we doing? It's like we almost need to get the clinical people that are teaching and all that stuff, and they should have some exposure to college. I mean, we came into this with, we know we're not going to get paid. We know we're going to work long hours. We know we're going to be a difference. But that's the why you got in, because one, I'm not going to play athletics in college. Could I? Maybe. But I was set on going to Ball State and doing athletic training, and I know you can't do both.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't play at Ball State, but I'm just saying, I made a dedication then to, this is where I'm going, and I'm going to do what I have to do it. But my point too was, I have to impress Rex, Tony, Neil, and whomever else is there, the GAs, right. And it was Trish at the time. We made a transition, but it was my, did we freeze? So it was my job to earn my recommendation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And everybody. And the worst thing, and I heard this, is when somebody tells a person that, if you do this, I cannot recommend you, you know? So, I mean, but that's the piece that you work so hard for that. And I think we get away from that. I think that we have a lot to learn from this older generation that are leaving profession. I mean, we lost a lot of people, you included, in the college setting. And I had a lot of friends retire. Like they were a couple of years away from retirement. And they're like, I'm done. I can't do it. But it's getting back. It's the sad thing is that, salaries are terrible. We're making changes. We're making strides. And honestly, where I was at 20 years ago, what my assistants are making, or what I was at a director. I mean, things change, right? And we are getting there, but we can't keep attacking everybody. We got to keep our focus on good healthcare. And I fully agree we need to be paid, because at the end of the day, we might get down this in the administrator piece. I think the best administrator for any high school, university, anywhere is an athletic trainer. Why? Because we see everything and anything that happens, and it goes one way or the other, and you're going to see how it goes, and you can be able to manage situations based on that.
And unfortunately, we're pretty good at crisis management, whether we like it or not.
And that's what I had to get out of this reactive mentality versus proactive, because that's the way it was. It's funny. They want to do an interview with me for a radio broadcast, and they want to talk about commotion aorta and the defibrillator and all that stuff. I'm like, when I got to Detroit, they had one defibrillator, and it was locked up in the office in a locked cupboard. And then that office closed at 6:00 and was locked up, but all intramurals still ran through Callahan Hall. And so kids were there till midnight.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was one of the first things that changed. I had to get air conditioning. Sorry, I'm not saying AED is important than air conditioning, but I did get the AEDs and create a huge awareness across campus. So, but no, that was a priority, just to be safe. And, now it's like this liability thing. All you do is you try and prevent and limit. So,
well, let's talk about your next step to your grad school, Eastern Michigan.
Yep. Yeah, Eastern. I went there. The spot was great. This is, I'm telling you, connections and personal relationships are huge. So the NATA 95 was downtown Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, we all know. Rex has a videotape that I took at little ditties at the time. He said one day we'll watch it. He's like, "Hey, you got that tape?" Of course, I do. never to see again.
There's somewhere, it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, we worked at Kramer booth, the senior students, and did all that stuff and fun. We all crammed, like however many of us, like other students, and we crammed into one room, and we just hung out, made friends. And I'm like, I want to work football. I want to work football. I want to do that. So I'm looking for grad school somewhere, and things popped up here and there. And then I saw Eastern Michigan, and I said, wow, that's MAC conference. It's, not too far from my home, and it's football in rehabilitation. So I went with Rex. I went to Rex about it. He's like, get your resume, get your tie on, and meet me for one of the town hall meetings, because Strick will be there. Gary Strickland will be there.
Yeah.
So I'm traipsing in with Rex with my damn tie on, and Rex always wears ties at the time. I think he's got out of that if he ever goes. But we walk up to Strick. Bill Tuscany was there, and Craig Voll, who was the GA before me, who went to Purdue, and now I think he's still at Purdue at the clinic side. But they're all just sitting there waiting for the meeting. And Strick's like quiet, kind of gruff, bigger guy, got this mustache, and just doesn't really say a lot, but when he says it, it's funny, or it's just kind of meaningful, right? So I get up there with Rex, and Rex introduces me to him. Hey, Gary, this is Mike Miller. He's graduating with us. He's really interested in your position, GA position. He's like, all right. And like, got any questions? And he's like, no, all right, we'll look at it. Thanks. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Rex was this dude who's like gotten me. And I thought he was going to walk up and just like, hey. So we had to sit uncomfortably through this whole, I don't know if Rex remembers this shit. I'm sure he does, but whole town hall meeting. I don't know if you've ever been to one, but.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I'm a senior student, and what we were doing the night before. So.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just sitting there like.
Were you with Cowgill that night? Because I know exactly what you were doing.
Oh, no, I almost got hit. I saw the legs less than a foot in front of my face. So. And then
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, so I'm sitting there the whole time. I'm like, damn, Rex, like, what the hell just happened? He just really didn't say anything. We didn't talk the whole time. We didn't talk. Yeah. And then I'm just like, I don't know how to say anything to Rex, because I'm like, kind of like not sure what to say. And so town hall meeting's over, and I'm like, I can get out of this damn tie. I'm gonna get back, probably meet up with the other kids, and forget today, right? So
yeah,
we're walking out, and Strick and Bill sprint up to us like speed walk, and I'm like, to me and Rex, and he's like, hey. And then we start talking about the position, and like literally, I had a resume. It looks pretty good that you have football experience, you worked with the Patriots, stuff like that. That was all because of Ball State. That was all because of Rex. It was all because of the connections, right? Yeah. But Strick saw something and came up, and so the funny thing is like, holy, I literally think I got offered a GA position, and I think I'm good to go. I mean, formalities, but we just kind of looked at each other. I'm like, I thought he's like, Mike, I couldn't figure out what the hell happened, because it was like, are they not interested? Do they have somebody else? But he's not like that. So, but when he sprinted up, we knew that. I don't know if they were in a heated discussion, which, Strick's not a very heated person, but
right. Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, long story short, I'm there. I actually started awkwardly. I started in January and went, finished was there 2 years with football. So, right. I started out with spring football and went right into fall after that. And, basically I was out at the football stadium running that training room by myself with Strick. And then once football, it was all hands on deck with students and Strick, and sometimes
because didn't Strick like work football and then go right to basketball at that point?
Yes. I mean,
yeah,
that's, today's day and age, unless you're like in that D2 and not travel, D3 maybe, and maybe you travel or not, but you go from one sport to the next. That's how it was. And now it's that mentality of work and time. You can't do it, but you do have to cover each person in each sport. Right. And that's the problem you have.
So how did that feel? I mean, because once basketball season kicked in, you were kind of running the show. I mean,
yeah, no, The weird thing is I got there in January, and I'm like, I meet up, I go into the main training room at the field house, and I start out there, and then I end up opening up and working out at the football stadium, and then they would send like major rehab cases that were like surgeries for and or just coming off a long rehab of something, and I had a student that worked with me, and that's just how we did it. And
Yeah.
once two-a-days kicked in, that's when all the students came in. But that was the thing too, is you had all these students that you were working with. I haven't had that since I left Eastern, students that were going into the field. So
Yeah.
it was nice to work with kids that like-minded, that wanted to get better, to be to the next level.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was great. I mean, we had some great athletes. We didn't have a great success season, but we had like four.
Who was the head
NFL
football
players.
coach then?
Rick Rasnick.
Yes. Yeah,
he-
because he was the offensive coordinator at Utah when I was in grad school.
Oh yeah. He was like at Utah or San Jose or something
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there before, and like we had Charlie Batch was our quarterback.
Yeah.
We had a tackle that played several years, LJ Shelton, and we had a D lineman, Lionel Dalton, Jelly Roll, that played. That's rare. I don't know if you see that in MAC, that you have three players on the same team that go in the NFL and have longer, like decent careers. But that was cool. That was a different side of things. But also, I got to grind and be an athletic trainer, and strict manage the administrative stuff, the day-to-day. I did the injury reports. I go talk to the coach. He let me run the show with football, let me be the guy. And it's of course coaches wanted him more involved with stuff, and which whatever. We had a great thing, and but the experience I got there and the quick learning, you come out of undergrad and you're not sure. At least I came out feeling like, I'm not certain. I'm not sure. What do I?
Right.
It's like, do it, get going and get it done. But that's why I think we need these kids that are graduating to get that experience. I don't know why. In my mentality, I think after the 4-year, they should have a certification, and then they have that year to work do their whatever you want to call it. But I mean, we're not getting the help, and we're not getting the kids to see college athletics or work that, you're not getting kids that want to work over 40 hours. Kids that don't want to pick up a call from a kid that's sick or got a problem or something took a turn for the worse, and you got to go get that kid and take them to the hospital. I mean, it's 24/7 in college pretty much, because these kids are almost our kids. But that opportunity I had there to be an athletic trainer and learn was amazing. And it, not many people can say I pretty much got to run a Division I football program. Strick was there and had my back, and that, and I tell my staff today, like, you guys have a great everything going on in here, and it's copacetic, and you don't hear, because we're putting fires out behind that, so you don't have to know it, and you don't have to deal with it. And that's what I do now. So
so from Eastern Michigan, where do you go to next?
Yeah, so unique situation. Unfortunately, I lost my mother at age of 14. And my father passed away when I was 25, and I actually stayed from my end of January, that winter term at Eastern. I stayed the summer through December because I needed to finish my study for my thesis and get my thesis done. So I kind of looking for jobs. I can't remember how I did it, but anyway, I was looking in the summer, and nothing was coming up. Nothing was there. I get a call. I interview here.
That's amazing. That's amazing to talk about now. Nobody will hardly believe that now, with as many jobs that are out there right now. I mean,
and you had to sit at the phone, or you had to go to your mailbox every day, and then your messages. If you didn't, that's when cell phones started picking up, but not everybody had them. But still, it was trying to find that job, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do. I don't have shit going for me. I can't find anything. Everything was great, and then boom, I get a call. My dad died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm displaced. I'm moving out. like end of July. My dad passed away July 24th. And it's just like things lined up. I moved all my stuff home. Well, we buried my dad, moved my stuff home. Bill at Cowgill was at Notre Dame. So
Right.
before I come back home between there, I remember having a conversation with him on the phone at my apartment. And Bill's like, "Hey, Mike, there's an intern here that accepted the job, and she's basically going to back out in August." This girl was a Ball State student, I believe. And I think she found a clinic job that was going to pay her. The intern job was 10. It was, I don't know if it was a 10-month a year, whatever, but it was like 15 grand. He only worked afternoons and covered here and there. Within a month, we had another staff member leave, and I was promoted as an assistant. And unfortunately, we went a year down without an intern or help. So I covered all those sports. And Jim said, "I got my money's worth out of you, Jim Ross." So that was that trail too with the Ball State connection, because Bill Cowgill, who was a year older than me and lived across the street my junior year, we were tight, and
Right.
we looked out for each other. Everybody in our program, that was the thing too. Everybody's class to class, we had a camaraderie. We had, like, my class, and unless I can't fault myself for falling in love with a young lady that I ended up marrying and have 3 kids with, and kind of distancing myself a little bit from that group and hanging out. I had to hang out with her, but I mean, that was the only thing. And I won't take that away,
Well,
because
you weren't going to marry Cowgill, so
no, he is definitely the 5 o'clock shadow would have got me. We did have some fun. So anyway, Cowgill called me up and gave me a heads up on this. And then it took like 2 weeks. My dad had passed and we were moving this. And I'm like, AWOL. I'm like, I don't know if people are calling my apartment or whatever, because I'm back and forth from Indiana to Michigan. And, I get a call from Jim Russ. Bill and I kept talking here and there about it. And I get a call from Jim Russ. And he's like, "Hey, I hear you're available and I want you to come in and do an interview." And he's like, "If you wear a tie, I will cut it off." So I was like, thank God. And here's the guy that football games wore a tie, and that was always unique. That was a Denny Miller at Purdue, because Jim Russ was with him back in the ancient days. But but yeah, so Jim gave me a call. I ended up going back and trying to get situated. My sister lived in Mishawaka, and she was married and had no kids. So it was easy for me. I just had to go an hour drive away. I moved in with my sister and brother-in-law for almost 10 months. Lived there, got promoted. My wife got transferred to South Bend because she worked for Talbot's. She had jumped around because she was in retail. And literally we got married in 99. So she moved to South Bend the month prior to us getting married. And that's where I started my career. With another Ball Stater, and I was there 8 years. I started off with a ragtag bunch of things like track and field, swimming and diving, just all those sports that people had that the guy left that I picked up. And I swear to God, I remember my wife, when she was still in Indianapolis, coming up to visit me for the weekend, and I had to cover one of these ITA tournaments, college tennis, indoor meets, and it went every day. It started Friday night, ended at midnight. Started at you had to be there at 6 a.m. Saturday, ended at midnight. Started at 6 in the morning. They started at 7. They were done at 3 o'clock. Like, my now wife, bless her heart, drove to see me and spent all weekend with me at a tennis match. And tennis match. It was just kind of like, what the hell are they doing to me here? So, I just grind. I just did my work, and my job was to work, and impress, do my job, make us look good, do that. That's a mentality we lost too sometimes. It's a team effort. We're all together. What you do is great, but we all do it together. And the I piece has to go. So my player, our player.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that there's, that's one of the things that I think is interesting in healthcare is that customer service that's embedded in athletic training.
Absolutely.
And in healthcare in general, I don't know if that is, they'd like to talk a good game, but I'm not sure that they practice a good game. where that's where I see value in athletic trainers too, is that athletic trainers in healthcare settings, whether it be a traditional setting or a non-traditional setting, or at a hospital or a clinic or whatever, there's great opportunities for us to demonstrate our value with customer service. And you said it. I mean, it's about getting things done. It's about taking care of people. I even felt bad last night. I was leaving the school and I got called. I got text from our kind of our administrative assistant that we had a 5th and 6th grade girls game going on in one gym and 7th and 8th grade girls game on the other gym. And she said, "Have you left yet?" "No." "Where do you need me to go?" "Go to the middle school gym. There's a girl that fell on her wrist." So I go to the middle school gym, and it's one of our girls, and she's like a 6th grader, and she's holding her wrist, but she's like moving it, and she'd been crying and stuff, and you could tell, and looks like she had a little ice on it. And I looked at it because she could move it. I'm like, "I think you're okay. I don't think it's broken. I think that you're going to be okay." And I said, "I think you ought to keep icing it." And then when I just left, and as I left, I went, I should at least got her something like a compression sleeve or something like that. Or I need something down in the middle school gym to draw like a little first aid kit or something like that. So that's what I'm working on this afternoon. But the fact is, it bothered me that I didn't provide a level of customer service that would be indicative of what I needed to do. And I just kind of, I mean, I had to come home and kind of work it out that next time I'll fix it. But that's the thing, is that it makes it, you'll do those things because that's the legacy you want to leave in doing your job, and how you were taught by mentors that's how you do it. It doesn't matter if it's tennis or track or anything else. A 5th grade, 6th grade girl, you're going to do your very best.
100%. And that customer, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a huge thing with me. And I could never pinpoint like how other people acted or did business or talked. I was raised on customer service. That was just my personal upbringing. You treat people this way, this. There's, color was never an issue. Race was never an issue. It was never, I grew up in a small town that was probably prone to having a huge racial there. And, we had a certain culture. We were pretty much predominantly white. And I mean, and so you learn, I don't even know where I'm going with this. That's why I'm losing my thought all the time.
You learn it's not so much that the golden rule of treating people how you would want to be treated.
Yes.
You just know innately that in doing your very best, you're going to take care of that person regardless of whether the color of their skin or their personality or their personal background. That's the one thing I think that drives me nuts right now, is the fact that there's an insinuation, because of what my cultural background is that I'm going to slight somebody because they have a different cultural background. And that's not my makeup either. My makeup is people are people are people are people.
Right.
And you're going to treat them like another human being.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they are. And believe me, we've all done it. We've treated our fair shares of a-holes. And
I can,
one didn't like it, but we did it
along my way. And one thing I learned, and I'm big on this customer service piece, but I was always come in firing business right off the bat, right? This is what we're doing. This is here, there, the other. Like, okay, I'll see you later. Got to go, right? I would walk into Coach McGraw's office, like, it depends if we were in a coach's meeting and try to hit it during coach's meeting. But one day I catch her in her office, like, "Hey, Coach, here's where we're at." Blah 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 blah. She's like, "Hi, Mike. How are you today?" I'm like, and in my head, I'm just like, you need to stop and take in. And honestly, that's probably where I've started being more talkative to people. And it's not a good thing, because I start rattling now. I'm at that age where you start on one thing and you move to the next, and then you have no idea what you talked about at the start.
Abstract random. You're going down the path of Neil Hazen.
Yes. He and I have hung out too much. It's probably rubbed off.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the funny thing. It's just kind of like, it's not the blind leading the blind yet. It's the corral Neil. Where's Neil?
Yeah, where's Mike? Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's going to be, where's Mike and Neil? But,
Where's Mike and Neil? Exactly. Yeah.
oh, shoot.
But
But anyway, so yeah, so there I ended up Notre Dame, and then my first year I got that within my first few months. I was like October. I think I started in August, and October I was full time, and at that point it was kind of finish up the year with the sports that were there. And actually Bill was like gonna go to Miami, Florida, and we were chatting about it, and he's like, Mike, if you want, you want me to talk to coach, because Jim's going to probably ask who do you think we should talk to, or should we hire somebody else?
right.
And I'm like, absolutely, love to. Like the year prior, they were like, went to the Sweet 16, and our star point guard, who's now the head coach, tore ACL for another or other knee. And I took over all that, and so my first year with them was still, we went to Sweet 16, but we had a really good team, and we had a few people on that other team that once we moved to that next year and those kids were seniors, we had like the best chemistry ever. I mean, you could walk and joke and pick on each other and have fun. That's, I was always told to by my grandfather on my Williamson side that if I don't pick on you, I don't like you.
Right.
So
yeah,
I would always feel down with my grandpa picking on me and everything else. And then that would be his statement. And sometimes you have to take a step back and see who you're dealing with too.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, what else were we talking there?
And in 2001,
yeah,
you get in the club.
Yes.
Nobody knows about. We haven't talked about the club on this podcast,
but I've heard it thrown around several times. We've talked about it several times, and it's great. So that second season with women's basketball, my third year at Notre Dame, like we caught fire, and it was so fun. That was when the one girl had broke her hand right before the UConn game, and it was almost one of these blurs that you have those ups and downs, but you get every benefit of the doubt except for two. We had 2 losses that year. One, we played Rutgers and we should have beat them, and we just lost on a last second 3-pointer. So we lost by 1 point in that game. No, we lost by 2 points. So then we go Big East. We're the outright overall Big East winner. But we go to the tournament, get to the finals. We actually, I think, beat UConn again at their place, and then we played them championship. I might be off on that, but so we played them in the championship game at Storrs, Connecticut, at UConn. And last second, literally, we scored to go up, and they do a pass last second, get it in, lay it in, and we lose by 1 point. So then after that, we end up getting back on track and just going. And that tournament and what you had to do and the ride, and then like what the heck just happened. That was amazing, and it was fun, and it was in St. Louis, and ironically that's where I got my Ring of Honor award. And but and the funny thing was our point guard was from St. Louis, and during the semifinal game we played UConn in that semifinal game and beat them. Like we were down at the beginning of the game, we were down by like 20, and I think we beat them by 18 or 20. Like came out and just tore them up. And we played Purdue in the final game, and they had a last second shot and it didn't make. And we won by 2 points, and it was fun, man. It was, you're kind of like, man, it's a blur a little bit, and you probably experienced that with Utah. But it was so fun, man. That's something you can't take back. But the other thing was you quickly come back to reality the next year when you have 7 new freshmen coming on your team, and a few left over from that championship team. So no,
I would say, and that's why I encourage those people that get that opportunity to if you're on that road, stop and take a deep breath and take a look around and just absorb the moment. Because it all went very fast for me. I mean, in 94, I was so wrapped up in planning and organizing and making sure that everything was okay, because we were hosting the national championships.
That's a different.
And then we won, and I mean, I don't really remember a whole lot that happened after
Yeah.
that night. Not that
Yeah.
I did anything that made me not remember that. I just don't remember because I was so because the next day we had individual championships and I had to get all that stuff ready to go for that.
Yeah.
And then in 95, I took a little more time in 95 because I knew that it was my last year, and I took a few more moments in those times after that meet to kind of soak it in a little bit. With the great thing about it was at Utah, and probably just like you guys, it was still very family. That's the one thing I can say is that it seems like the female sports, like families are involved, like the kids' parents and siblings and all that stuff are involved to where you celebrate with them too. And that we had a whole room, and it got a little nutty. I've got some pictures that are a little nutty about that, but I took a little more time to soak it in a little bit, and I think that's the thing is. But I wish I would have done more like during the meet or during the competition to kind of just like look around, and that's why that when in 2017 when we were up at Notre Dame with men's basketball, I did take a moment. That's why I took that picture of you and sent it to you, and like I took a moment just to kind of look around and go, this is big time stuff here, and if something good happens here, I'm going to remember it by doing it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of things too, and I always try to remember to do that, but there's the times that you don't. You remember trips that you're on and you're like, man, I wish I would have. You're in Alabama and you're like in the gym, can you go here and there? You know what, what's crazy is I think I was to Alabama twice, and then you guys made me go on the No Wives tour.
Yeah.
That one year, and we went to Alabama, and I'm like, I've been here twice, and we drove to their basketball arena. I'm like, and this is all I know about this campus. I didn't see those statues. I didn't even think about that stuff. But that's what you do when you're in college basketball. Sometimes you don't take it.
So when we played Alabama, I'm trying to think what year that was. It might have been 2018. It might have. Anyway, we get there, and of course it's a money game, so they're putting us up in their hotel, which is right across from the basketball arena.
Yeah.
And like 6 of our guys see that the football stadium's like down the street.
Yeah.
So they take off. Like we get to the hotel, they throw their stuff in the room, and they think they're gonna like look at it from
inside.
No, they thought they were just gonna look at it from the gates.
Yeah.
They get their gates wide open. They walk down to the tunnel. There's a gate open on the field. They're at the 50-yard line taking pictures. And one of the ground crew guys goes, "Hey, you want me to take your picture?"
No way. You know what's funny? And I'll tell this, that when I was at Notre Dame, we opened up in the mornings at the stadium. So when they expanded the stadium in 97, I started in 98 at Notre Dame. When they expanded that, they moved they added a training room out there, and it was actually off. They added a door to the locker room. So what was it? So people would come, it's all locked up in there. You have to get buzzed in or use a key. And like every once in a while, like somebody be out there and you're like, oh, come on and I'll let you see. And you just give somebody a cool experience. They're like, oh, and to watch the look on their face is awesome. Yeah. So it's happened a couple times, but if you're with them, nobody's going to ask you questions.
Right.
So like one of the staff was in there, like she just thought it was, oh yeah, they've done it before. Like Jim Russ had done, like, come on, we'll do it. Like it's like one of those things. So you feel like I'll do it once, and then you feel good, but you're monitoring. One person like, yeah, go on in. So next thing I know, one of the administrators are walking these people through the training, like, who let these people in? And I'm just like, so, but yeah, I mean, but you think about it, you just made somebody's life that they're never going to see that, and you don't think about it. My wife had a laceration on her hand, and I was going to glue it up for her. So a coworker of hers brought her there, and I'm not thinking about it. I have her back in the doctor's office, and I'm dermabonding her hand, and this lady's like sitting there, and she's just like in awe, and not like
right.
And then I'm like, yeah, all right. And she goes, I can't believe I'm in Notre Dame Stadium and I'm sitting right outside of their locker room. And then I took her in and showed her the tunnel with she wasn't interested to feel. I mean, nobody was in. I took her real quick, and then we took out, and then, but it's just like those things that you don't think about, that you just make somebody's day, and then you let them go freely in the stadium, and then you get in trouble for it. But I didn't do that.
Oh no.
But that's great, because Yeah, funny thing too, we went to visit a friend down in North Carolina, so we visited Duke. And we
Yeah.
go my wife and I drove there to the campus and went into what the hell's it called? The
Cameron
gym
Indoor
there.
Stadium.
Yes, Cameron
Yes.
Indoor Stadium. So we went in there, checked it out, wide open. There was a camp going on, everything else. The football stadium's right there too, and it's down. And there was construction going on, wide open. My wife and I walked into the suites, and I'm like, we're probably not supposed to be here, so let's just go right now. Let's just say we did it and let's get the hell out. So we did that. Yeah. So then we go to North Carolina the next day, and it's like locked, like,
Yeah.
nothing was open. So, but it was cool because like my middle son was able to get some pictures with some football players that were getting out of practice and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, those things and people that you don't notice that you're immune to or you just get numb to that. But it's fun when you get to see other people's.
Yeah.
Um,
So how did you get to your current role?
so yeah, so when I was at Notre Dame, I had my ultimate goal was to be a head athletic trainer. No ifs, ands, or buts. At one time, I questioned if I wanted to, just go to be a high school PE teacher and an athletic trainer because, the mentality was.
Right.
When I mentioned that to Rex, I don't think, because we were talking a certain path and that's what I wanted to do. And then when I mentioned it, he just had that disappointed look like, what's, why? So I ended up sticking to the path that I wanted to, is that I didn't want to do anything else. So my goal was to be a director of sports medicine, head athletic trainer, wherever that would be. Would love to be Power 5 or not. But the interesting thing is your path when you're coming up doesn't always fall within the right
Yeah.
thing. As I said, I wanted to be a football athletic trainer. Going to Notre Dame and working football is game day, help out practices if need, I can, or 2-a-days, fall camp, spring ball, stuff like that. I eventually evolved into being football and basketball, but that took 8 years, six
Yeah.
6 to 8 years. So it was kind of a balance with staffing and stuff, but I wanted that, and I ended up working basketball, and I liked it. I didn't play basketball in high school as an Indiana kid. That's unheard of. You shoot the basket, but I didn't
Yeah.
play. I was more rough and tumble, and that's what my path is. That's why I can't remember things. Too many shots to the head, probably. But you know that it was just ironic how this thing popped up, and it goes back to my Eastern days because Ypsilanti is borders Ann Arbor, and then Detroit is less than 40 miles away, and we have a lot of Detroit kids, and I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed the mentality. I didn't enjoy the mentality and this how people do things up here. It's more of it's a Midwest town with an East Coast attitude. So you
Yeah.
get the Midwest person with a little bit of a fiery type thing. So I guess
Yeah.
that's the best way to explain it. Took me a while to get used to that. Um, but anyway, I go back to my days of what I had to learn there and took it to, and then learning from those people of like Jim Russ, pick and choose your battles, Mike. Learn, like, let's talk some things through. And that really helped me going from a immature learning your ways. And you're like, I'm going to rule with an iron fist. And this is how Rex did it, or Neil and Tony, or,
Right.
everybody came in and you didn't feel that way with your students. So it felt weird. So you work through that and you build the relationships. That's what makes that. And Rex did that. The best thing I ever felt from Rex was me going from an observer to the next year, and him saying, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" It just made you feel good. You're like, "Hey, he knows my name." Needless to say, he probably asked somebody before, "What's that student's name?" But still, it makes you feel better. And I wish I could remember names when I talk to people because that's the
Yeah.
first thing I forget.
Oh yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
that's one thing.
they seem to escape a little bit more here
Yeah.
nowadays.
That is for sure. That is for sure. But, and this was my dream to do this. So was it at Detroit Mercy? No. I had to learn a lot about Detroit Mercy. Should I go to Detroit? And honestly, it's amazing here. Downtown is so beautiful. There's so
Right.
much things down there, the vibrance of it, the fun things to do down there. It's expensive, but um, it's amazing. This is whatever, been here since '06, 16 years,
Yeah.
17 years, going on
Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
Um, but it's getting to that time of what's next for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be an administrator at another school unless it's different. I contemplated just going back and being a regular athletic trainer, working with the sport and being that, just to take a step back, because what COVID taught us was a lot about people, but also a lot about people that come together and really do some things that are great. We were all underworked, underpaid, no staffing. We were asked to save money. We were asked to save money at all costs. And then you basically kill yourself to do this and make it happen because of these kids,
Right.
And what you're looking for is that appreciation, that excitement. I feel like I have a good vibe with people. I have a new staff in and they're running their show, but the vibe has to be, you're going to respect us.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to take from it. And, and then we have new coaches, we have new battles, but we'll fix that. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it was great. I got here. I had myself a 10-month position that was hired in two GAs that were hired before I got there. And I started right after Labor Day. So it
Yeah.
was that quick that I'm working 2-a-days at Notre Dame
Yeah.
and going to move and live in a dorm room that I've never been to in Detroit. And that took 10 days for me to get a house.
Yeah.
Living in a dorm on campus will definitely encourage you to get the hell out of there. So
Actually,
I
I learned this morning that you have to call them residence halls.
oh
That's what every school administrator, because I guess the derivative of dormitory is death.
oh okay,
So
but we've had it for this long, so let's just be politically correct.
yeah.
We're going to desensitize every damn thing. I'm sorry. That's what we're dealing with. And
No, that's what they were joking about that. That's what they would get corrected, as the
yeah,
president of the university would get corrected if he called it a dormitory. Yeah.
that's
That's
great.
yeah.
Do not do that. Oh man, the days. It's that's part of some of the things we're dealing with. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I started off with that staff. 1 10-month, and historically that position, the 10-month, turned over every year.
Yeah.
So my goal was, they did have a plan. They were going to add some sports, and they had a plan to hire athletic trainers to the last guy. What they were wanting to do, they wanted to add Division I AA football. And in my conversation with them, they told me how many staff we're going to hire. I'm like, well, who are you going to hire to work that? I said that to the AD. I'm like, he's like, well, I thought you'd be interested. Like, I thought that would, be an excitement for you to come and work. I'm like, so I'm working right now. I work football at Notre Dame, but
Right.
when I work when basketball starts, school starts. We might have a couple kids around. We might have all the basketball around in the summer, but they start after. So that, you want me to start in July? Hell no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But that never got added. They had a plan to hire a full-time and a half-time person. Like, the half-time would be a GA, and I'm like, this isn't going to work. So I was able to get creative. The person left. I was able to hire 2 people and make the salary
Right.
respectable at that time. And so I had 2 people. I added a little bit more GAs. I've had 4 GAs at the time. Now they're going away. I'm working through our hospital to hire out athletic trainers and help. I'll still cover here and there or travel. I might be traveling with softball this year based on the shortage of athletic trainers in the college
Right.
setting. And it's pretty bad when a healthcare system can't even hire people. So
Yeah.
I have to get creative. And now, my director of strength quit in the summer. We hired a new guy, and he quit within a month because he got another job.
Right.
And I had to roll with one person. And so it was all hands on deck from staff to that, and then trying to get some help in there. And now we're 0 strength coaches, and and I'm trying to get contracted people in until I can get a hire. You don't want to hire somebody just because you can. This guy left right at the start, like at the end of September. So
Yeah.
everybody's in their place, and you don't want to make a bad decision.
Yeah. No,
Only as
especially.
good as the people you surround yourself by.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you owe it to the student athletes to do that.
yeah,
Yeah. Coaches, on
yeah,
the other hand, maybe not so much, but student athletes, yeah.
yeah, 100%, 100%. We all know uh,
Yeah.
loyalty is few and far apart.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Um, anything, um, you've been an athlete trainer, administrator now and stuff. What's maybe one or two things that you've come away with? And we talked a lot about a lot of things today, but that you've kind of felt is important to be good at both.
Um, I'll be honest now, I can't be good at both right now. I can be as good as I can be because I am spread too thin. Staffing wise is an issue. Now with strength and conditioning, that's an issue. We have to, and I think we have a president at Detroit Mercy that's athletic minded and is not going to, we've gone through a lot of struggles here from an athletic department from a budget standpoint. The school had to do a reset with tuition and enrollment. And so we were hurting. So it was hard to do things. And my plan was to start hiring. Well, we went through the change, we dropped the sport, and we went through this change. And it was like, okay, once we get through this financial thing, we can reset and maybe hire more people. COVID, right? So
Right.
now we're in COVID and it's like nobody has money and we spent too much, So it's one of those catch 22s. And if we had more staff and people, I have a responsibility that I feel like I'm spread across the board. I do sponsorships, I do engagements, customer service. I'm in the Titan Club with the donors and stuff. I'm speaking with a lot, I'm speaking with the donors. I'm just talking with them. I have a
Yeah.
great relationship with people. It's simple if one conversation that you can create a long lasting relationship. I had it. I have an older lady who I've kept in touch with the whole time, and we're on the same page. I mean, she lost her husband a few years ago. I check in on. That's just me. I don't want
Yeah.
anything out of this. I reached out to another lady that I hadn't heard from in 2 years because I hadn't heard from her. She's alone. She's in her 90s, and she would drive by herself to Arizona.
Yeah.
And then I have another donor that's not. He's starting to slip mentally, and he'll call and be confused.
Right.
And I'm like, I know his daughter's there. I don't give a shit about this.
Right.
This is real life. And
Right.
people have taken the real life things out of a job, out of your livelihood. And we've made this shift to secretive, do it behind your back, try and do, you can't be successful and you'll never be successful by doing that. And I've always tried to do things like this is how it's got to be. And you just got to have the staff that's there, and then you function.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is how we do it. Coach argues it. You have one misstep, it kind of puts a kink in the chain.
Yeah.
So it's a battle and a nonstop battle. And honestly, it's that point where it's like, how long, how much? If I left, it's going to be so much problems.
Right.
Um, I have people that still are involved because of me,
Yeah.
donate because of me. I have this lady that donates because of me. The comment to me, well, you talk to her all the time. I'm like, I'll talk to her when she comes to any of our meetings. And the only time I don't call her, she sends me a check for a donation and I call her and thank her. When it was COVID, I called and checked up on her because her husband was gone. So, I've done some crazy ass shit. Pardon my French.
No.
For people that are, a former athlete that wasn't even an athlete of mine. I'm not talking older than me athlete. And they have an issue and you help that person out.
Yeah.
And you're their only connection. They have one person in their life that's trying to help them, but they can't manage it. And I'm in that person's life. So I was in a position where on a Wednesday and a Sunday, I could visit this guy and try to help and see what's going on. And from 6 o'clock in the night on Wednesdays and Thursday or Saturdays, that's what I did for about 2 months. and then help with this guy get, his situation right. And that's just life. That's just being a good person.
Yeah.
And I think if people go through life like that and be good people and do what's right, for each other, that's the next step. But I wear my heart on my sleeve. I mean, I take my job so serious. One of the biggest reasons why I'm here is because I love it. I love the sport. I want us to do so good. And then, it's at a small school, it's tough with this, with budgets and cuts and this and that. And then you get hit a couple times. You just got to be, persevere and get through it. But it's tough. It's very tough. It's, it's fun to work with the kids and do the stuff, but the difficulty and the time wise, and I have a son in college and 2 in high school, and I miss so much in their life. And until I'm able to do this. And that's what means the most to me now. I can relate with my kids now better than ever because I've worked with 18 to 23-year-olds. So have you. Yeah. So in your years, you're going to start seeing them different. Like that's something I really noticed. I'm like, I actually can relate to my kids now. When they were like 8, 9, like you're expecting them to do different stuff. I mean, it's a fact of growing up too, man. But that certain things mean different things to you, but also if you go through life with things that happen and you learn from those, it takes a page out of you, and you learn from that, you move forward, and that's how you are as an individual. So
no, I think
we can get deep here, Troy.
No, it's I think that's innate in all of us to help and relationships. I mean, I think good athletic trainers are good. They're good at relationships in that aspect because that's really what drives us in doing those things. And that's the one thing I can tell you that I think is different for the kids that I'm working with now is that all their previous athletic trainers that they've had at that high school have been young people that are trying to establish themselves and build confidence and basically trying not to screw it up. And here I am, who's been in it for such a long time that I had one kid tell me the other day, he goes, "You didn't really do anything for me, but you just sat and listened to me." And I went, "Yeah, because I understood that that's really all you needed. You didn't need me." I looked at whatever, knee, ankle, whatever it was, but I just sat and listened to him a little bit and established some type of relationship to where that's all they needed. And I think that's the thing about it is that it's not so much a technical thing as it is about letting them know that you're just available to kind of, you're a teenager now. That's the thing about it is we've dealt with those 18 and 22-year-olds. Now I'm dealing with teenagers that it's a little bit different. And it's taken me a little bit to learn how to deal with those things too.
100%. And one thing too, with being isolated, I had trouble. I got COVID a year ago, right around now. And it literally just switched to the 5-day quarantine. Honest to God, I'm like, God, I got COVID, and I'm like, I didn't feel bad. I had a cough and everything else. I'm like, I can actually just chill out and like somebody can cater to me for a minute. That lasted a day and a half. And then my wife got it. And then 2 days later, my other son got it.
Yeah.
My one son went back to school, and the other one, I have no idea how he didn't get it. But in those 5 days, and then taking care of everybody, and it just messes with you, and that's the big thing. That this mental health is a huge conversation. We've added staff for mental health, and you add staff, you just get more people going, and it just continues to be that. So we're looking at a lot of options for our student athletes in access. There's a lot of online options that our university is looking at as well for those things. I mean, there's so many things that you can do, and technology is going to change because a lot of people, like the older professors, kicked and screamed that they had to do online computer type stuff. But once we came back and started the in-person, they're all arguing like, well, why can't I just do this from home?
Because it's nice, why can't I do it online? Yeah.
I don't mind getting up and going downstairs to my basement and in my shorts and my dress shirt, whatever.
But
no,
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, but one thing, if everybody takes this to heart, I don't know if it was Pat Summitt that said it, but being from Notre Dame, I don't want it to be her. I do now. She's such a legendary coach, and we lost her. But her, I think the comment that she had stated was lack of communication for people, or no communication. The individual that you're not communicating with will they automatically think it's something negative.
Yeah.
And think about that. Every time, like, oh, he didn't text me back right away. Like, what did I do wrong or something like that? People think that way. There's some people that are sociopaths and don't, but I'm saying it's that communication piece, and then people are doing things differently, and it's the technology age, and there's a lot of negativity and assumptions and less talking. People don't like to have face-to-face conversations anymore.
Right.
I have to have that. Yeah. It's just learning people, because guess what? A kid 3 months ago, I don't work basketball. I pay attention. I listen to things. I see things. I hear things. I talk to my staff about it. I talk to kids about it. This kid, I saw it. There's something wasn't right. And I'm like, to my staff, have him come in. I want to talk to him. Yeah. Pulled him in. I found out this kid was a month from leaving and going home. He's overseas. And his exact words to me is like, I'm going to give this the rest of this month, and I'm going to leave. If things don't get better for me, I'm going to leave. I'm like, well, it's not right. It's a lot of things, man. Like, just twice I've just sat down. I sat down and talked with this kid, and I'm just worked through, like, and I'm not a counselor. I'm just saying, sometimes it's just the fact that what you were saying, kids come and they say something. Once you open the door and they got your trust, you're going to learn something. Yeah. Then you're going to see this kid and you're going to know when they're off. And that's why athletic trainers are important. Yeah. You see it, you hear it, you react to it. You learn to react to it. Yeah. And this kid stayed another month, doing great, awesome. He had a little setback, an illness, or this or that. Then, like, some things popped up, and we were managed to get him. I mean, he's under care, but it's like, at some point, pull him back in. It's like, and I'm going to take credit for this because not a lot of athletic trainers do. After I had that conversation with him, this kid went off. He had the best month of his life. And I'm not going to say it's me, because we got the care he needed. And I just had to have another talk with him, and he's back on track. So, but those are key importance. We could have lost a kid because of communication. Yeah. Doesn't feel like he can come and say something to somebody. Yeah. Or doesn't want to, because it's how it's been. Kids do, you watch kids, they do stuff that, like, literally sabotages them. Yeah. This case is the same thing. Bad grades, up and down, this and that, missing class, you fight through that to work through the kid, get him right. And hopefully at the end, by the time this kid leaves, he's going to have a better understanding of why and what he thinks and feels. We'll get him the proper help, and he's moving on, and we help them. That's all I care about. You leave, and he can say, Mike, you made a difference. Yeah. The one girl that walked in and was pale, and I'm like, something's not right with you. Let's go get some blood work done. Let's talk to the doc. And I'm going on a trip then. Driver, get the blood work, come back. I get on the bus. I'm like, hold tight. She's bleeding out. This girl has had
oh my goodness,
bleeding out. And if she called me and was like, Mike, they told me that I need to go in to see the doc. Can I just go tomorrow? When she first saw me, she said, can I just go back to my room and sleep? No, I'm not letting you out of my sight. And, so it was, her mom was an ER nurse, so that she was up north. And basically, I'm trying to figure out, because she had called me first after the appointment, or what the call was. And then I'm back like, hey, this is what I was told. Her, like, she needs to go right now because her count is dropping, her blood count. Yeah. And I said, okay. I'm like, you need to get your butt there now. And I'm on a bus going somewhere. And she gets there. This before we even knew what was going on. She had a golf ball size polyp ulcer beside it. She was just bleeding out her stomach. And she wouldn't have woke up that next day if she didn't do that. And you do that stuff, and it's like, wow, if I took a break. And this is why people, when I get excited and I'm ready, like, you're doing something, I'm trying to teach you and talk to you about certain things. And when you get excited because you need to do it this way because, or something that you know it's this, and they just don't want to listen to you. I mean, you're excited about it because this is life and death. That one thing, it might not be that, but not Jim Ross, but John Whitmer, who passed away a year ago again. He was one of my other mentors that was at Notre Dame forever from the 70s on. He always told me, he's like, in our profession, Mike, just remember, because you say this, you're like, man, things are going so good, the team's doing that. You're thinking that, you don't want to jinx it, but you're sitting there and you're thinking that and you're feeling that. And then John Whitmer's like, hey, Mike, do you know for our profession, 100 attaboys can be erased with one oh shit. And I'm like, you're right. If I said, go back and just go and sleep, and she didn't wake up, and then we're dealing with a different situation, I'm going a different route. And I mean, that very well could have happened. And sometimes kids think that way. Like, I just got off the road a long time and I just wanted to get home, Right. And so, I mean, it's just staying on top of it. And I don't know, it's just the passion to work with the kids and get the results and the ups and downs, minus the tricks that you have to deal with behind the scenes. And it's a huge production. I mean, marketing, promotions. I have my foot in every element of this athletic department besides like business stuff. I mean, I do my own budget and business and stuff like that, but
you're very busy, and I think that's why getting you nailed down to do this podcast was even more awesome. And I'm glad that you could make time to do it. And I think that's the thing, is that somewhere down the line, like me, you're going to be rewarded for the amount of things that you were involved with, and you won't even see it coming.
I've seen it. I have a lot of student athletes that still call me for help. They're overseas playing now. A lot of my guys that were overseas are starting to phase down. I've been out. I don't travel. I haven't traveled in over 6 years, probably.
Right.
I've traveled here and there. I've had to travel with basketball because I had to cover for somebody. But being out of it, and I don't even know where. Here I am again talking and getting out of my mind. I forgot where I was going with it.
Well, listen, we need to wrap this up. Yeah, we're going on. We're going on a little over an hour and a half. That's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. But I got a staff meeting at 1:00.
Yeah, you do, and I need to let you go for that too. But but no, I think that's the thing, is that kind of the central theme of all this is that it really comes down to helping people.
Yeah.
And we that's a big priority of being an athletic trainer, especially if you were at Ball State during that time that Rex and Neil and Tony were there together, because that's what they preached. And I think that's the thing where we've all kind of had mentors along the way, even outside of Ball State, that have helped us understand that as well. And
what it comes down to is your work ethic, one. And two, your ability to learn and take in knowledge and be able to do that. You're not going to be perfect your first year out, your second year out, third year out. That's why I think these first 2 years of kids coming out of this program, how are they going to be? I don't even know how the program is. I know some of the things that are allowed to do, can be able to do. It's great. I want to do that myself. But are they going to be able to give the patient care or interact with people? We have people that have problem solving, or even going and having a face-to-face conversation about something to get it worked out. Would you rather have a 5-minute conversation or a 2-hour text back and forth where you can perceive that anyway?
Right.
Are you being shitty or are you being nice? Let's leave that out. Sorry, I'm going to get on another topic and we'll be here past my thing.
No, it's a big. That's why I was trying to explain my AD the other day, is that there's art of athletic training, there's a science of athletic training, and the good ones can mesh those two together and take bits and pieces of them to make it work. And because that's really what this still profession is about. As much as we want to do position statements and everything else, there is still an art of learning how to read your patients or read your athletes, and providing the best care you could with that.
The more you're around people you develop that intuition. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just like being married to somebody. You can tell when your wife's not happy by when you ask her, "Hey, is everything all right?" "I'm fine." You know it's not fine. I mean, it's the same thing with any relationship. You're gonna
Yeah.
get a response, and you're gonna learn the response.
Yeah.
Um, you're just gonna be able to play into that and find out what's up. And honest to God, Ray McCallum, when we worked together here in he and I were so tight when I made the transition out. I don't know if it was he had 2 more years left. But I transitioned in 2015, I think. And he was pretty upset about it. I mean, in a Ray McCallum way, but I still tried to stay around. But he and I were so tight, and to this day, I really cherish that piece because we'd be at North Carolina State or whatever, and he'd call me and say, "Hey, Mike, can you come downstairs?" Go downstairs. We'd be sitting there. Um, he'd order up some wings, whatever. We sit there and chat it up, and we sit there, and I tell him the guys are this, that, this person's this and that. I tell them what their mood is, what their
Right.
help is, and that's what I tell my staff. You can be a huge asset to your coaches, and if they see
Yes.
that, they're going to see your value.
Yeah.
If you can tell your coach, like, "Hey, you might want to talk to him this way," because Ray was great at that. He
Yeah.
could, unless he needed to do a certain way with kid, but we could pretty much predict how kids were doing and tailor to whatever we had to do to just get through it and be
Yeah.
successful versus somebody's got an issue in that. I mean, we had some interesting guys. I have a kid that's had some troubles, and he still comes back to this day and works out here, calls me, checks in on me. He
Yeah.
got injured overseas. It was a group of everybody. "You going back to see Mike? You got to get back and see Mike." I had another kid with a hernia just talked to. He's at the end of his career. It's
Yeah.
kids from Poland or Spain calling you.
Yeah. No. No.
So
I've
I
got
mean,
those too. Yeah.
it's lasting relationships too. You might
Yeah.
not remember all their names, but you remember what they meant to you,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I know we got to wrap it up.
Yeah. No, listen, I think you've had a very great career and going to continue to do so. Um, hopefully if it doesn't drive you crazy in the process of doing that, but
Yeah,
I think that's
I
the thing. That's the thing about it is that I appreciate you coming on and talking about it and talking about a lot of other things too, as
right.
abstract, random as it has been
Yeah,
in some ways.
honestly, my biggest focus is like my staff keeping sane,
Yeah.
helping them out, getting their back, any problems they got. I mean, that's the biggest thing too, keeping people moving. I mean, we're in a shitty situation and we're gonna have to get through it. So I got to keep them happy.
Yeah.
If my
No.
coaches act a certain way to them, I lose a person. Guess what?
No.
Now we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah,
So
but you've been a great example for your staff too. So if they ever get the chance to move on and do something different, they've had a good example of that and a good
yeah,
experience because of that. And that's
and
important.
I think we have to continue to set the tone for the future for the athletic piece. I know there's changes being made, salaries and stuff like that, and people want to argue it and send emails to ADs or rip the athletic trainer. I don't think that's helping the athletic trainer because it's just like my coach coming in bitching to me because we lost a strength coach.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you doing about this? "Well, I'm going to hire someone." "Oh, well, I haven't lifted in a month." That's bullshit. Then it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, like you said, it's a process to get through.
Yep.
But
This has been a big experience. And be honest with you, when you say, "Mike, you're an administrator," I am, but I'm doing a lot. I got my hands in a lot of things, and I'm in a lot of meetings, and I have to be on a lot of decisions. A lot of people across campus will call me versus anybody else because of how we get shit done.
yeah.
But that's the biggest thing. And I can't say if I went to Notre Dame and was an associate athletic director, but like just say sports medicine and oversee this and just a suit, it'd be a way different, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I think we have the mentality in athletics to be great with teams and sports, and I think we can angle it that way. But I also think, when salaries change and everything else, and we're out of the profession because we're retired, we'll be saying like, "Wow, I remember when I made that," or
Yeah.
made like half that road, 3 times.
I remember when I had to do this, and this. It's kind of,
Yeah.
you're kind of, it's in a different way. But back when like JD and Sindri and those guys were teaching classes, but being an athletic trainer and doing, driving the bus or whatever else, it's not unlike those days, just at a different level. So
that's the funny thing, is how things were done back then, and now is like, wow. I don't think that's not acceptable nowadays. But yeah, I mean, it's learned a lot, had a lot of fun. I mean, that athletic training room at Ball State, and honest to God, I think it was my group that always stood on that wall. And honest to God, I think it started with us.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah.
But Tony like ran with it, and it was awesome. So I had to come back and sign it because they made it official after I had left. But yeah, that wall, nobody knows the history. It was kind of like we would just always stand on that wall and watch, because the taping area is there, treatment area is there. You were out of the way, and if they needed anything, you just walked around and did something. Yeah. So but that was
that wall is iconic. I hope it's still going to be there, but it is.
Me
like
too.
Change happens, but
I know
that's why I took pictures of it when I left, because whatever happens in the future, we could always make that into a vinyl type thing and we could have a traveling wall.
Yeah,
there we go.
Well, in
we can bring it to the track in May.
Well, this is kind of goes along the lines of how people do things and change things, and I honestly have a plan, but it's changed. I wanted to do something for Ball State athletic training, either sooner or when I die. Depends on that. I'm similar to my dad. I want to do something. It's not going to be great. I'm not what my dad can do, but he helped me along the way to learn how to invest, be a business person, do things. And, so my thought would be this, if there's college, the college athletic training is a huge important factor. And I think with losing students or incentivizing some of these athletic training students to work in the college sector, they need, if it's a money thing, I wanted to try and set something up. But with the last, I don't know if you want me to even talk about it. I just have been turned off about the direction of the athletic department and their treatment of people, and it goes along the line of how we're at with things.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a wait and see thing,
Yeah,
because you're not interviewing for the AD's job, right?
No, nope. That's my thing. Is I would love to do I would love to actually sit back and try to direct the traffic. I'm sure there's a lot more of the other stuff you have to deal with. It's very difficult, but it's usually myself working with that person that gets the shit to manage it. So some way, shape or form, I see it and do it. But also too, I see how things need to be. Yeah. I've got people that donate because I got people that give money and they would go somewhere else if not. They give a huge chunk of change and it goes to their school, and nice little 5-figure annually comes to sports medicine is great because I could buy some nice stuff and help things here. So.
Well, listen, I know you got to get to your staff meeting, so we're going to wrap this up.
Cool, man.
I really appreciate you being on. It was a great time.
Cool.
We've gone off the roll with Mike Miller. I want to thank Mike for being on the podcast today. We covered a lot of ground and really maxed out our time for talking. So it may be a little bit longer podcast because of that. But, he really covered some interesting topics. And I think the thing that really got to me was that you're really doing a balancing act when you're an administrator and an athletic trainer. And there's lots of other things that go into trying to do those jobs as well as you possibly can, wearing a lot of different hats. And I think Mike does a great job at doing that. So we've got some exciting things coming up for 2023. Obviously, I talked about the guests in the intro, but We're gonna have a Twitter account that we're gonna put some stuff out there and maybe do a little more information about our guests, or some links about our guests that we're gonna have on here, and it'll provide another avenue of feedback to you guys, to me, for you guys to me, regarding the podcast and what you like and what you don't like, and maybe some different things that go along with that. We still have offtherollpodcast@gmail.com if you want to comment on that account. And then hopefully we're going to be growing this thing this year. I kind of got started out with it just to test the waters and see how things would go. And now we're at a place where we can kind of grow a little bit, and maybe there'll be some different things out there that can help us make this a really great podcast to kind of reach more people with that. So we're looking forward to 2023, and looking forward to more off the roll opportunities, and we really appreciate your support and subscribing or listening to this podcast on whatever platform that you're on. So hope everybody has a great week, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care.